Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Path of Strength. Episode 7. Chapter 65. I love you, Catalia. More than my own life, he whispered. I gave him a small peck on his lips and whispered, I love you too, Justin. More than my own life. We stood there for a few more seconds before he finished picking up the shopping bags and we finished our trek back to the pack house. Once we had delivered everything to our room and I finished putting everything up, Justin asked if I wanted to go with him to his parents' home. His sister had returned home from university, and he had been anxious to see her. It was, also, her birthday and he had gotten her a gift. His sister had been pestering him about when he was going to get to meet me, which she had been truthfully looking forward to too. I am nearly positive that we met before she started university, but honestly, I have no idea. Back then, I was still dealing with my own trauma, so I was not really giving anyone the time of day to even care. Truthfully, I didn't care. My trauma, it had destroyed me and my very fundamental being. I was excited about meeting Justin's sister. Well, I am excited about meeting her officially. We left the pack house and Justin asked me if I wanted to walk there or drive. Since it has been nice out, I decided we could walk since it is almost winter. By the time that winter hits, it will be too cold for us to take these types of walks. Once we arrived at his parents' house, I stood outside for a few additional minutes before Justin asked me if I was ready to go inside. I guess it is now or never. I said that I was excited to go, but I never said that I was not nervous about being around his family again. Once we entered the house, I saw a small blonde blur rushing down the stairs. She attacked Justin by jumping into his arms. He barely had enough time to let go of my hand before she was on him. Jessica, calm down. I have missed you too, he laughed, while petting the top of her head. I have missed you so much, she squealed. I let out a small growl. More accurately, Sky let out the growl using my body. Sky is very territorial, and she has her body wrapped around Justin's torso. Deep down, we understand that she is his sister, but it does not stop us from wanting her not to touch our mate. I stood awkwardly to the side. I don't want to insert myself into their conversation, but at the same time, I am starting to feel awkward standing here, switching pressure between each foot. Justin's mom and dad walked into the room. The first thing his mom did was walk up to me and give me a small hug. Thank you for giving them this moment. It has been a long time since they have seen each other and they were incredibly close as kids, she whispered to me. I nodded my head at her. I understand, I mumbled, I get like this with my brothers sometimes. Usually, we are rarely apart for long periods of time. Justin's mom cleared her throat. Justin, how rude of you to not introduce your sister to your mate and future alpha. Catalia, I am so very sorry. I promised that I would raise him to have a share of respect and manners. His sister finally released her legs from around Justin's waist and took a step back. She took a look around the room when her eyes landed on me, and it was like she finally realized that I was standing there. Oh, my goodness! Where are my manners? She gushed. She rushed over to me before I could even respond. She gripped my hand and then pulled me to her, engulfing me in a hug. My name is Jessica, and I am Justin's younger sister. You must be Catalia, the future alpha. Oh, how I have heard so much about you. I laughed. She talks a mile a minute. She reminds me of some of the children in the pack that I deal with whenever I go for a walk. There are plenty of times children will stop me when I am walking, so that they can interact and talk with me. It is nice to meet you, Jessica. Justin has told me so much about you, I responded. I forgot how it feels to be the first female alpha, she excitedly exclaimed. Justin interjected before I could respond, Geesh, Jessica, give her a chance to respond. You are overloading her with questions. His mom laughed. Some things just never changed, she said as she walked towards the kitchen. Justin wrapped his arms around me and walked me towards the kitchen. We took a seat at the island and watched as his mom began to make the preparations for dinner. Jessica came and sat on my other side. You never answered my question, Catalia. How does it feel to be the first female alpha? I laughed. Of course, I figured she was not going to forget her questions anytime soon. I might as well answer it honestly and truthfully, she is going to be family after all. Please, call me Kat, Jessica. No need to use my full name, I prefer it. As for your question, it is kind of nerve-wracking. I feel like everyone is constantly watching me and waiting for me to mess up. I feel as if I constantly have a target on my back. My dad has had several alphas appear with the intention of trying to get me to be promised to their sons in order to form a treaty. The most disgusting one was an alpha trying to promise me to his 10-year-old son. I would give it all up to be normal though. I have never regretted agreeing to take my brother's spot as alpha, but sometimes I wish I was a man, so that I would not be looked at like I am some piece of meat or a prize to be won. Justin reached over and squeezed my knee. It will be okay, I promise, love. You know your dad would never promise you an alpha son, especially knowing that you have your mate. I will never leave your side. I promise. I will always be here. I looked over at him gratefully. Thank you, I mouthed to him. Let's change the subject, his dad stated as he walked into the kitchen. I shot him a grateful look too. That was how our evening went. No one mentioned me being the future alpha and the struggles that I was facing with, not only the leaders of my pack, but, also, the rest of the world. His family acted as if we were just a normal mated couple. They did not ask the burning questions that they had, such as if Justin was going to be named my Luna. They just let us enjoy a night by ourselves as a family. The truth is my father has done everything he has possibly been able to think of in order to protect me from the sad reality. I heard one of his conversations with King Lucas and Luna Everly without meaning either. They were talking about me and my dad was telling them about the sheer number of alphas that were constantly lining up in order to take my title from me and my own right to my pack. I was eternally grateful to Justin's family for treating me as if I was already one of them. I guess I technically was, since Justin and I have officially marked each other. I was grateful his family, including his sister, stopped asking me questions about what it would mean once I took my oath as alpha and how it would change the pack hierarchy as we know it. You know, the funny thing about female alphas is that they are myths and legends, and they never know what might have truly happened to any of the other so-called female alphas. I know I am not a myth. I will make a name for myself, and I will survive this. In the current pack hierarchy, there are generally many females that have no rank or title, even if they are mated to someone of rank. They are meant to be good mates who is submissive to their mate, but I want that to change. In a pack, the only female that receives a title is the alpha's mate, the Luna. Beyond that, none of the other ranked females have titles and I want that to change. I will be that change. I will show them that just because I am a woman does not mean that I cannot do the same thing that a male can do. I will go down in history as the one to change the pack hierarchy. Chapter 66. Justin's POV. I enjoyed being able to see Catalia in this setting with my family. She gets along well with my family, and I could tell my sister and her hit it off well. Catalia and Jessica chatted all night. It is more Catalia telling Jessica all about what it means to be a female alpha, while Jessica was eagerly devouring everything she was saying. They even talked about her schooling and what she was studying. I have never seen Catalia smile as much as she did at that moment. She was happy. Peaceful. Even my parents seemed to be fond of Catalia. They were fond of her when they learned that she was taking Michael's spot as alpha. They thought the trial the elders had put her through was ridiculous, and my father voiced his opinion on it many times. Learning that Catalia was my mate had just put the icing on the cake for my parents. My mom asked me how I would feel about being called Luna, and I just laughed and told her that I would do anything in order to remain by Catalia's side, including allowing myself to inherit the Luna title. After all, it is just a title. How can we say that it is okay to have an alpha female, but not have a male Luna? The titles don't signify specific genders. Anyone can have those titles, just like anyone can take the role of Beta, Gamma, or even Delta. Now, we are sitting on my parents' couch, watching a movie with Jessica. My parents and Jessica asked us if we would stay the night. Jessica wanted to have a movie night and had demanded that I be here for the movie. My arm is around Catalia, and I just realized Catalia had fallen asleep. I move to shift her and pull her into a laying position, so that she can rest her head in my lap and get comfortable. She shifted a little and then rolled onto her side, so she could face me and bury her head into my shirt. She looked so cute curled up into me, breathing peacefully. Jessica glanced at us. I like her. I am glad the moon goddess chose you for her. Do you think you love her? She whispered. I am glad you like her. I don't just think I love her though, I know I love her. We have had such a difficult journey, and it has not been easy to be with her sometimes, but, you know, I would not change a moment of it. She has easily become the most important person in my life. I can see it, you know. I always thought it was funny when we first moved to the package and I could see the little infatuation you had with Catalia, even though she was a few years younger than you. Even as you two got older, I could see how you drifted towards her. If someone said something negative to you about Catalia, you would lose you. Even if you could not admit it, you liked her. You gravitated towards each other. I thought you two might have been mates. I am glad to see that I was right. She smiled at me again. You know, she also brings out the best in you. I have never seen you this happy before either, but I could tell she can press your buttons too. I glanced down at her sleeping face. Yeah, she does push my buttons sometimes, but I would not change it for the world. I love her so much that sometimes it hurts. I have a serious question, Justin. Did you mean what you said to Mom and Dad about becoming Luna if that is what Catalia wanted of you? Are you not worried about what people in the pack will think, or even some of the warriors making fun of you for not being a Luna? I sighed. I knew Jessica would eventually ask me this question. Jessica and I were super close growing up and we told each other nearly everything, even with our age gap. As I got older and I started going through puberty, it sorts of changed. I still talked to her, and we were still incredibly close, but I kept more and more to myself, for good reason. My younger sister did not need to learn about my life or some of the shit I would get into with some of the warriors. Yes, I meant what I said, Jess. I love her and would do anything to be with Catalia, including becoming her Luna if that is what she asks of me. She is my world. My everything. Being a Luna does not generate your gender. The titles of alphas and Lunas are not gender-based. Just because most alphas are men does not mean that there cannot be a female alpha. It would be facetious of us to say that we can have a female alpha, but we cannot have a male Luna. There needs to be change. Change is necessary, especially if we think about everything that my mate has to go through to claim what should be her rightful spot like alpha to the White Fang pack. It would be an honor to stand by Catalia's side in whatever capacity she allows me to. I will submit to her as my alpha because I love her. Do you feel that it takes away your masculinity, by submitting to your mate? She asked me quietly. Sometimes it feels like that, but then I realized that there had to be some reason that she paired me with Catalia. Since meeting Catalia, I have realized that my masculinity is not that weak to the point where I would be offended standing by my mate or even submitting to her. When you think about it, we all submit to our Luna and Alpha, so why would it be any different for me to submit to my mate? I don't think she will demand that I submit to her in front of the pack, but even if she did, I would accept it and I would do it for her. Jessica smiled at me. Good. I was hoping you would say that, brother. I am glad that you have caught Alia, and I am glad that she brings out the best in you. If you excuse me, I am going to get ready and go to bed. Good night, Justin. She gets up and heads to her room on the second floor. I glanced down at Catalia and decided that I should go ahead and get her up to my old room too. I shifted my position again and carefully lifted Catalia in my arms. She sighed in her sleep before she cuddled her face into my neck. I walked up to my room and gently laid her down on my bed. I took her shoes off her and pulled the blanket over her. I sat on the edge of the bed for a minute thinking about the conversation that I had with Jessica. I know she wanted to see if I was truly serious about Catalia and becoming her Luna if I had to. I meant every word that I said about her and about becoming her Luna, if that was what she chooses. I laid down next to her and wrapped her in my arms. I love you, Catalia, I whispered. I felt her stirring in my arms, so I started to gently rock her back and forth, in hopes that she would not wake up fully. Once I feel that she is in a deep sleep, I kiss the top of her forehead and allow myself to drift into oblivion. Chapter 67. Catalia's POV. I rolled over in the bed, only to realize the other side of the bed was cold. I opened my eyes and smelled his pillow and realized that Justin had left the bed a while ago. I opened the link and called Justin. Baby, where did you go? Miss me already? He chuckled. I went to help Mom cook breakfast. Your dad told me earlier and told me that he wanted you to meet him at noon today. It is a meeting about a rogue prisoner. Of course, I miss you, baby. Let me find something to wear and then I will be down. Are you attending the meeting with my father too? Only if you want me to, and then later, I need to go to the training fields. Gamma Shan had set me up to lead the warriors' training session. I know they would love it if their future alpha attended. Sure, I will be there. He is dramatic sometimes. He knew all he had to do was ask me and I would go with him to the training without him essentially begging. I went to Justin's closet and pulled out one of his shirts and inhaled his scent. I saw a pair of leggings sitting on the dresser with a note telling me they were for me to wear. It must be his sister's leggings. Once I am fully dressed, I open the door to head downstairs. As I was walking down the stairs, the smell of freshly cooked bacon and cinnamon rolls wafted towards me. My stomach growled at the thought of fresh cinnamon rolls. Justin meets me at the bottom of the stairs. He leans down to give me a hug and whispers in my ear, I love it when you wear my shirts. I could feel my face heating, and I was sure that I was as red as a tomato by this point. His mom walked into the living room and saw us. I don't even want to know what he said to you that caused you to blush this deeply. I am sure that if my face could turn redder, then it would have. When I walked into the kitchen, Justin grabbed a plate and placed it in front of me. Thank you, I said to him. I quickly ate and we said goodbyes, with promises not to be strangers, and we made our way to my father's office. You sure you want to come with me? Of course. If I am going to become one of the future leaders of this pack, then I need to prepare myself for everything that I will take on. Also, if you are going to be placed in any danger, then I have the right to know. I sighed. I knew that it was coming. We never fully talked about what he had witnessed the day that he was released from the hospital, and I don't think I ever want to talk about it. I never want Justin to have to see that side of me. That side is scary, and people get hurt when that side of Sky and I come out. He is our mate, though, caught. Our mate has a right to know. Of course, Sky feels the need to input her thoughts on the matter. I know, Sky. I know. It is hard though to release everything that I once knew and let him see this side of me. What if he ran from us if he saw the full nature of what we are capable of? Caught, he is not going to run. News flash, sweetie, he saw what you did to that rogue when you froze up, he is not going anywhere. If anything, something tells me that there is a darker side to Justin and Aries than what we have seen. I sighed. I know she is right, deep down, but I cannot stop letting the fear consume me. We finally arrived at my dad's office, and I knocked on the door. Once the door opens, I see King Lucas and his Luna, along with the ranked members of the pack. Ah, I feel special, I said as I entered the room. Everyone came together just to greet me and welcome me into the room. King Lucas had a hard time hiding his laugh and Oliver just started laughing outright. Justin squeezes my hand and steers me to one of the other love seats that were placed in the room, pulling me onto his lap. Now that everyone is here, my father stated, looking at me pointedly, we can begin. We received some additional information after Catalia questioned the rogue. His only condition was that we did not let Catalia come back into the room to interrogate him. I smirked. They will usually willingly talk once I leave the room, as long as there is an agreement in place that means I will not come back into the room again. He told us about his alphas, my father continued. He told us that he has 3 alphas, and they are brothers. They were kicked out of their old pack for another pack member, but he is unsure of the pack they came from. He did tell us that he had come for our pack in order to, he glanced at me nervously. Go on and say it, Alpha, I stated. I don't need them tiptoeing around me. I know what they did to me and so did everyone else in the room. They are the ones who attacked and assaulted Catalia when she turned 18, they came to the pack in order to get a hold of Catalia again. As my father finished, several loud growls filled the room, with Justin's being the loudest. His arms tightened around me, mine, he growled lowly. My father held up his hands, no one is taking that fact away from you, Justin. Everyone in this room knows she is yours. That leaves us with a problem though. With Catalia being a prime target, we need to figure out how we are going to approach this problem. I can assure you that Catalia will most likely be a target for them again and they will come back. Kat, I know you are going to hate the next words to come out of my mouth, but I will be assigning 2 warriors that will be with you every second of the day until we get these bastards. I will not run the risk of my daughter being attacked again because of our negligence. I started to protest, Alpha, with all due respect, I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself and protecting myself. I do not need 2 warriors constantly watching my every move. Plus, Justin is never out of my sight. They would be stupid to attack me with Justin around, he would die before he allowed someone to harm me. And I am one of the best pack warriors, I do not need to be babysat. My father sighed, Catalia, I do not need you to be difficult about this. Kat, baby, will you please take protection for me? I know you are capable of taking care of yourself, but I would feel better if we had to separate for any reason. I would feel better having to leave you knowing that you had someone to back you up. I know you can handle yourself, but please do this for me. I sighed. Leave it to Justin to start crumbling my walls. I don't want to accept the help, but if it made my mate feel better, then I would do it to alleviate any stress he might feel about the situation. Caught, you know that I do not think you are weak in the slightest. I know you are fully capable of fighting and taking on anyone. You are not the same little girl that you were when you were attacked, but I speak to everyone in the room when I say that this would give us the peace of mind that we all so desperately crave when it comes to you. Just looking at Justin, I can tell that it will relieve any and all the stress that he feels towards the topic. Fine, I grumbled, I would like to make sure that it is known that the only reason I am doing this is because Justin is worried, and I do not want him to worry about me any more than he does. Noted, my father stated with a smile in his voice. Who will my guards be? I asked. I was thinking of Aziel and Garrison. They have both grown quite fond of you and they are some of the top-tier warriors that we have. Of course, you will have Justin with you and Elijah and Michael will be switching out with Aziel and Garrison when they need breaks. At least I like who he is going to make my babysitters, that is at least a plus. There was a knock at the door. Oliver is the closest to the door, so he moves to open it. One of the warriors came in. Alpha, we are receiving reports from the border that there is a young girl requesting entry and medical attention. She claims she was assaulted a short distance from our borders. Chapter 68. Alert. This chapter will contain assault and abuse. If this is something you are not comfortable with, please skip to chapter 69. Justin and my father both looked at me. Catalia, there is not a chance you are going to allow us to handle this, and you will stay here, is there? I growled and shook my head. She will be more comfortable talking to a male versus a female. If a bunch of males show up at the border, then she will clam up and not be comfortable. Since I am sure King Lucas is not going to allow his Luna to attend with me, I will be going. I will only need to take Justin and one of your guards with me. I will report back with what she tells me. King Lucas looked between my father and I before he stated, I can only imagine how strong Catalia will be once you pass the title of Alpha onto her. I have not seen a young Alpha with that strong of an aura in almost a century. The last one that had a strong aura in that sense was a female by the name of Indigo and she was not a regular wolf, she was the daughter of a Lycan king, set to take the throne at his passing. She was considered to be strong enough to be an alpha, actually stronger. I am sure you are aware how rare it is for a Lycan king to give the throne to his daughter, instead of a son when he steps down. I looked around the room and noticed that everyone except for Lucas, his Luna, Justin, and my father had their necks bared in submission towards me. I did not realize I had pushed my aura out, so I carefully brought it back in. Is Indigo still alive? I asked hesitantly. He nodded his head, yes, she just took over about 30 years ago from her father. He decided to step down, instead of making her wait until his death. Maybe after all this, I can introduce you to her and she can give you advice on your situation. Many did not like the fact that King Gabriel handed her the throne when she was unmated too. I eagerly nodded my head and looked towards Justin, let's head down to the borders to see this girl. Have Aziel come with us, he is the least intimidating of my guards. We rushed out of the room and headed to the borders. Aziel met us about halfway to the border. As we reached the border, I saw Miguel towering over a little girl that was huddled on the ground, curled into a ball. Miguel! I yelled. He turned towards me. Yes, Alpha, he said, raising his eyebrows. What are you doing? Can't you see this young girl needs medical attention? You are scaring her by towering over her like you aren't got no sense. I walked closer to her, and I pushed Miguel out of the way. I promise I won't hurt you, I whispered to her as I slowly lowered myself to her level. Do you think you can walk, or would you like me to carry you? The young girl looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Can you please carry me? She whimpered. I nodded my head at her before speaking again. I am going to have to grab you from under your knees, while simultaneously holding your torso. She slowly nodded her head as I lowered myself to pick her up. Catalia, Justin said as he walked up behind me, do you need me to carry her for you? I felt the young girl shrink back and hide in my neck as she quietly began to cry. This is my mate, Justin. I told the girl before I turned to look at him. No, I will carry her to Dr. Lee for an examination and medical treatment. She is too scared right now to allow anyone to touch her, especially since Mr. Dumbass back there thought it would be okay to tower over her like she was a threat. I said as I looked behind me at Miguel. I will deal with you later. I linked him and watched as he gulped audibly. I started to walk away with Aziel and Justin following behind me, heading towards the pack hospital. Once I entered, Dr. Lee was already waiting for me. I laid the girl on the stretcher gently and started to walk with her and the doctor to one of the examination rooms. I turned to Justin and Aziel as we were about to enter. Baby, I need you to both wait out here. She might get scared or calm up if the two of you are in here. I remember what happened after my assault and the fear I had of having a male doctor around me. I don't want her to feel the same fear that I felt. They both nodded their heads and Justin kissed my forehead. I will be waiting outside the door, my love, he whispered. I stepped inside the room and gently shut the door as Dr. Lee was continuing her examination. Feel free to ask her your questions, Catalia. She looked as if she bonded with you. She may decide to tell you everything you want and need to know. Just remember to be gentle with her. She is in a fragile state right now. Try to figure out who her parents are and what pack they are in, so we can contact them. I am sure they are going crazy not knowing where their daughter is. She does not smell like a rogue, so I am nearly positive she belongs to some pack. I walked closer to the little girl's bed and pulled a chair closer, so I could sit. Do you mind if we talk? She nodded her head. If I ask you anything that you are not comfortable answering, feel free to tell me no. She nodded her head again. What is your name? She was quiet for a moment before she answered, Jesuslyn. Such a pretty name for a pretty girl. Are you a part of a pack? She nodded her head. Can you tell me which pack? The Moonstone Pack. My mom and dad are Alpha Eric and Luna Ariel. I want my mom and dad. An Alpha's daughter. Of course. I really hope this is not who I think it is. The motive sounds correct, the age of the victim. How old are you? 19, she whispered. I opened the link and felt for my thread to Justin. Justin, will you ask my father to contact Alpha Eric of the Moonstone Pack and inform him that his daughter Jesuslyn is here, and she is injured and will need him and his Luna? Of course, my love, he quickly responded. Jesuslyn, can you tell me what happened to you? She let out another low sob and she began to hyperventilate. I wrapped my arms around her. SHHH, you can speak whenever you are ready. I promise they can no longer hurt you. I am right here, and I will protect you. My father is contacting your parents right now. Her sobs finally quieted down before she finally took a couple of deep breaths and spoke. I was meeting up with some friends from another territory and I was about halfway to our meeting spot when I heard rustling in the trees. Before I could react, one of the men grabbed me from behind and placed a bag over my head. I tried to fight them off, but they were too strong. I was thrown in the back of a van, and we drove for what felt like an hour. When we stopped, they threw me out of the van and took off the bag from my head. There were 3 men waiting for me. She let out another sob before continuing. The first one ripped my shirt off and said she has some nice tits before roughly grabbing one and squeezing. And it continued. The only one who did not participate was the third male present. They acted as if he was in trouble. The third male was yelling something about that they were supposed to be waiting until their Luna was theirs and that they had promised not to touch any other females. They kept telling him this is what happens when you disobey us. No matter how much I thrashed, they continued violating my body until their heart's content. I tried to stop them. She paused for a minute as if thinking about something. No, she cried out, my mate, he must have felt everything that they were doing to me. He will never forgive me. He is going to shun me and reject me. What did I do to deserve this? I stepped closer to her and observed her neck, noticing the mark that I must have overlooked earlier. I wrapped my arms around her as she sobbed harder into my arms. Justin, please make sure that you alert Dad that she has a mate, have her parents check on him and make sure that he is okay. She is fully marked and mated, he would have felt everything that happened to her. He is going to need to be here as well. I will contact the Alpha and let him know what else is going on. It's okay, honey. He will understand. This was not your fault. You did not ask for this to happen. I got you. No one will hurt you ever again, not like this, if I have any say in it. I know this is hard to answer, but did they do anything else to you? She nodded. At the end, they forced the third brother to penetrate me. I screamed as loud as I could, but no one would come for me. Before they left, after beating me, the biggest one leaned down and whispered in my ear, "You are right near the borders of the White Fang pack, let the daughter of the Alpha know that we are waiting for her." Do you know who the Alpha's daughter is? Chapter 69. Do you know who the Alpha's daughter is? Those words were the last thing that I heard. I stared into space, trying to comprehend what was happening. Was she attacked because of me? Was it all my fault? I could feel the beginning of a panic attack coming. My vision was starting to blur, and I felt as if I could not breathe. I was gasping for air. I was starting to feel lightheaded. The next thing I knew, I felt the gentle caress of sparks rushing along my arms. "Come back to me, baby. I got you," Justin whispered to me. I slowly started to calm down, taking deep breaths to center myself. "That's my girl," he whispered in my ear. He wrapped his arms around me, and I looked around the room. I could see Jaceslyn cowering in the corner of the bed, near Dr. Lee, who was watching me with a knowing look. Aziel was standing by the open door, watching as Justin used his touch and scent to calm me down. I watched Justin's and Dr. Lee's eyes glazed over, the telltale sign of a mind link. Once his eyes cleared, he looked down at me. "Do you need a break?" he linked me. I shook my head now and I could tell that he wished I had said yes. I turned back to Jaceslyn, and she still looked scared. "Do you mind if my mate stays in the room with us? I promise you he will not go near to you without your permission. I will make the other big, tall, scary-looking guy wait outside though. Is that okay?" She nodded her head in agreement, and I turned to look at Aziel, who nodded his head at me and stepped back outside, shutting the door behind him. I took a deep breath before answering her question from earlier. "Yes, I know the Alpha's daughter." I paused before continuing, "You are looking at her. I am Catalia Frost, daughter of Alpha Michael Sr., future Alpha of the White Fang pack." I watched as she gasped in shock and then understanding overtook her features. "I am so sorry that what I said upset you," she whispered, "that was not my intention. I did not realize it was the Alpha's daughter that came to me. It is okay. You did not mean to upset me, and it was not your fault, you had no way of knowing who I was. I never formally introduced myself to you." She paused for a moment. "Did they hurt you too?" I nodded my head, and I felt Justin's grip tighten on me, a low growl building in his throat. I leaned back to him, allowing his scent and his touch to engulf me, effectively calming me down. I could tell that my touch and scent were beginning to calm him down as well. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Dr. Lee went to answer the door. Once she opened it, she took a step back and opened the door wider, so we could see who was at the door. Jaceslyn let out a small, mangled cry. I turned back to the door and noticed two men and a woman, standing my mother and father. This must be her parents and mate. One of the males, who I assumed was her mate, rushed into the room and gathered her up in his arms, squeezing her tightly. She continued to sob louder. I took a step back. "Maybe we should give them a moment. They will have a lot that they need to discuss," I said as I looked at Justin. "That is her mate, they have completed the mate bond." He felt everything those bastards did to her. I watched as his face twisted in anger, disgust, and sympathy. He grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the room, and we were followed by Dr. Lee. As I shut the door, Jaceslyn let out a loud sob. My heart was breaking for her. I could only imagine the pain she was going through, knowing that her mate felt them violate her. I do not know if I would ever be able to look at Justin ever again if it happened to me after we had mated. At just the thought of it, I felt the tears pricking the back of my eyes. We walked into one of the conference rooms in the hospital, followed by Alpha Eric and Luna Ariel. I turned to face them once everyone was in the conference room. "Thank you for coming, Alpha Eric. I am sure you understand the severity of this situation and I thank you for taking my father's call. We should be thanking you. I am sorry, I don't think I ever caught your name." Alpha Eric stated. "Sorry. Excuse me, I forgot my manners. My name is Catalia Frost, and I am the Alpha Heir of the White Fang Pack. This is my mate, Justin Warner. Behind you, as you have already met, is my father, Alpha Michael Sr. and Luna Isabel. My two brothers are, also, here. That one is Michael Jr., and the other one is Elijah. Next to them is the Beta heir, Oliver, and his father, the current Beta, Damien." I watched Alpha Eric's face change to one of awe when he realized that I was the Alpha heir and not one of my brothers. Honestly, it is kind of a shocker that he has not learned of this, since many of the surrounding pack have heard about the female Alpha that had taken on 15 pack warriors and ranked members of her pack. "Thank you, Alpha Catalia. I appreciate you taking the time to take care of Jaceslyn. We were worried sick when her mate, Jasper, collapsed and there was nothing we could do to help him as he screamed in pain. Then, when no one could get hold of Jaceslyn, we started to worry more. We were grateful when we received your call telling us she was found on your borders, and you had granted her sanctuary. Do you think that you will be able to tell us what happened to you?" I shook my head sadly. "I am sorry, Alpha. I cannot. It is not my place to tell you about the horrors that she went through. She will divulge that information when she is ready, but please don't push her." She was already incredibly upset and felt guilty about the pain that she was sure her mate experienced as she was brutalized. Just take it from someone who has been there. Don't push her and let her do things at her own pace. Have a therapist on hand. It may help, but it may not help. You never know. I do have to ask, why she was traveling between packs on her own? Did no one think to at least have her mate go with her? Alpha Eric looked at me with regret, while his Luna had tears in her eyes. She was supposed to wait for Jasper, but he was caught up in a meeting, so he was not able to take her. She assured us it would be fine, and she would go there, with no stops on the way. She promised she would have her friend's brother drive her home. We were in the middle of the meeting when Jasper collapsed and was screaming. I shook my head sadly. I was worried they were going to say that. I turned to my father. We are going to need to talk to King Lucas about maybe trying to issue a curfew on all the packs until the bastards are caught. I turned towards Alpha Eric. You and your family may stay here in one of the guest rooms in the pack house, or you may stay in the hospital with your daughter. If you stay here, Dr. Lee will look after you. If you choose the pack house, then you can ask the head Omega, Clarence, to set you up with a room and food if you need it. He nodded towards my father and I. Thank you for your generous hospitality, Alpha Catalia. I will speak with my Luna, Jaslyn, and Jasper and see what everyone wants to do for the night. We appreciate this and I promise this is not something we will forget anytime soon. We turned and walked out of the room, giving the family the privacy they were going to need. I rubbed my hand down my face. I think it is time for all of us to turn in and then in the morning we will reconvene and decide what we plan to do about this problem. Justin and I walked back to the package in silence, hand in hand. When we made it back to the room, we both took separate showers and lay on the bed. Almost as soon as my head hit the pillow, Elle let the darkness consume me and I fell into oblivion. Chapter 70. By the time that I woke in the morning, the sun was shining into the room. I rolled over, so that I was facing Justin. I sat up and leaned down and kissed his forehead. He stirred slightly before falling back to sleep. I looked down at his sleeping form and I smiled. What did I do to deserve this man? I glanced down at his chest as I admired him. I don't think I have ever taken the chance to really look at his torso, his muscles, and admire him. I really don't deserve this man. I traced the contours of his muscles with my fingertips as I admired his torso, paying to the hard ridges as I traced over them. Are you enjoying yourself? His voice snapped me out of my reverie, and I jumped as if I was caught doing something I should not have been doing. I did not even realize that he had been awake. I looked down at the bed, embarrassed. I placed my hands in my lap, twisting my fingers as I spoke. I am sorry, I did not realize you were awake. He softly sighed and rolled onto his side. He placed his fingers under my chin and lifted my face, so I could look at him. I tried to force my face down, so I didn't need to see the anger in his eyes. Catalia, what's wrong? He asked me quietly. You are mad at me. I should not have touched you in your sleep. I am sorry, I whispered. Catalia, love, look at me. I slowly lifted my face, so I could peer into his eyes, and I was shocked by the love and the gentleness that I saw in his face. Baby, I am not mad at you. It is natural for you to want to touch me, I was just shocked. You generally do not initiate touch. The closest I get is that you will kiss me on your own accord. You rarely ever allow me to touch you, and you rarely touch me. I love feeling your touch. I love it when you kiss me and when you take the initiative. You never need to worry about whether I will get mad if you touch me. I have been ready for you since I was born. I have always wanted my mate, Catalia. There is nothing that you could do to me that would make me change my mind about you. I blinked away my tears before they could start rolling down my face. I love you, I thought to myself. My throat felt as if it was closing, and I was worried that if I tried to speak then I would start crying. Justin gently caressed my cheek, as we stared into each other's eyes. I love you, he whispered. I love you, too, I linked him back, too scared to try and speak to him. He wrapped his arms around me and held me to him. So, we laid like that for what felt like hours. Alia, we will be waiting for you and Justin before we start this meeting. You two are the only ones that are not present, my father's voice cut through my thoughts as he linked me. We will be on the way shortly. We just woke up, Dad. We had a long night, I responded as I cut the mind link. Come on. We have to get up, Justin. Apparently, everyone is waiting for us before they start the meeting. We just never got the memo of what time we were supposed to be there. We both rolled out of bed to get dressed. I quickly grabbed some clothes and threw them on, not really caring about what I looked like. Once we were both ready, we made the way to my father's office. Before I could knock on the door opened, and my father stood at the opening. Alia, we decided that with the number of people that are going to be present for this meeting that we would go ahead and move to conference room A, so that we would better accommodate everyone. I nodded my head and led my way to conference room A. Once we entered the conference room, Justin took his seat and pulled me next to him. I was shocked when he pulled me onto the seat next to him, instead of on his lap. Typically, no matter where we are, he pulls me into his lap. It embarrasses me whenever he does that, but I never realized how much I miss it when he does not do it. I looked over at him questioningly. Everything all right? I linked him. He nodded his head. I know that it embarrasses you when I pull you onto my lap. If you want to sit on my lap, then you can, or if, at any point in time, you need added comfort, you can grab my hand under the table or you come and sit on my lap. You are the only one who seemed to care about physically being in my lap during meetings. Everyone else does not even bat an eye, my love. I guess he had a point. I just thought it was inappropriate for me to be in his lap during meetings. You typically do not see very many mated couples that sit like that during meetings. I guess a small part of me was, also, scared to continually get close to him, and that was how it felt every time he would pull me into his lap. You just think too much. Sky grumbled at me. I can't help it. Instead of thinking, I need you to just do it. If you want to be in his lap, then sit in his lap. Justin and Aries will give zero about you wanting to be in their lap. They will probably enjoy it more than they should. You should not worry about what everyone in this room will think. The majority of them are mated. They will understand. And if it was ever an issue, then your parents would have said something after the first time. I guess she had a point, so what was stopping me? FK it, I pushed my chair back while we waited for everyone to take their seats, and I looked at Justin. He pointed to his lap, and I nodded my head. He scooted his chair slightly back, so that I could sit in his lap before pulling us back to the table. He wrapped his arms around me, encasing me in touch. I laid my head back on his shoulder to rest my head. I looked over towards my parents and they were both smiling at us. I guess it was truly okay. Now that we are all present, my father stated, looking at me pointedly, we can begin. First things first, how is Jaslyn doing? Jasper, her mate, was quiet for a moment. Jas is doing as well as can be expected. Last night was filled with nightmares. Since we have been mated, every time she had a nightmare, I was there with her experiencing her nightmares. He looked at the ground before continuing. When he finally looked up, I could see the pain encased in his eyes. It was like experiencing it all over again. It was to the point that I had to ask the doctor to sedate her, so that she could have a peaceful sleep. I glanced at him in sympathy. I remember those. The nightmares were horrid, and I would never wish that upon my greatest enemy. I know it is hard, but I promise she will eventually feel normal again. While I was not fully mated when it happened, the nightmares of what happened to me were horrible. She will be able to move past it, just make sure that you are there for her." He nodded his head at me. "I will be." Moving on to the rogues, who call themselves alphas, we do not know much besides what Catalia was able to get out of the one we captured and then what Jasuslan shared with Catalia. We know they are primarily targeting Catalia. He wants her to come to them. They have eluded every pack ever since they have had targets on their heads. Does anyone have any ideas on how to take them out of the woodwork? I had an idea, but it was crazy and was going to piss off nearly everyone in this room. What if I gave them what they wanted? Then, no one else would get hurt and I would not feel this overwhelming, crushing guilt weighing down on me. What are you think? I can tell you are nervous about saying something. Justin linked me. Stupid Bond. I forgot that he could feel what I was feeling now that I was marked. I can only imagine how much everything will intensify if we complete the bond. Just an idea I had, I responded quietly through the link. I cleared my throat. I have an idea, but I would appreciate everyone letting me finish before they speak. I felt Justin start to tense behind me. What if we used me as bait? I could tell that they were all about to start talking, so I held my finger up. Let me finish please. They are going to continue hurting others until they have the chance to get to me. What if we gave them what they wanted to get a link to their location? As Alpha Heir, everyone in the pack has a special link to me that can help guide them to my location. Plus, Justin is my mate. He can help you locate me. Use me to bring them down. It started with me, so it is only right that it ends with me. As soon as I finished, a loud growl reverberated through the room. Chapter 71. Justin's POV. It started with me, so it is only right that it ends with me, Catalia finished. All I could think about was the fact that she wanted to put herself in danger. I could not allow that. What was she thinking? She knew I would not be okay with her doing that. Before I could even process what I was doing, my arms were wrapped around her waist tightly and a loud growl resounded in the room. She turned to face me and placed her hands on each side of my face, leaning her forehead against mine. Calm down, Justin. I will be fine. You and I both know that I will be fine. I can take care of myself. This is the only way that I can think of will work in bringing them down. I stared at her. How can she think that putting herself in danger is helpful? I understand that she has this need to help everyone and make sure no one suffers the way that she did, but I am selfish, incredibly selfish. I don't care whether anyone else is hurt, as long as she is okay. Don't get me wrong, what happened to Jasuslan and the other girls that they have hurt, but that does not mean that I want my mate to put herself in danger in order to save others. What if something happens to her and I am not able to get to her on time? What if they assault her again? I don't know if I can handle going through that again with her. The assault had happened before I met her, and she was still having nightmares and was not herself. How can she expect me to be okay with doing this? The Alpha finally spoke, Catalia, which is out of the question. We are not sending you out there. With all due respect, Alpha, she quietly stated, you cannot tell me what to do. You can either help me and support my decision or you can step aside. I am sure Alpha Eric or Jasper would be more than willing to help get their daughter's attackers. Alpha Eric and Jasper raised their hands in the air and slowly scooted their chairs back. As if they were trying to say, do not put us in your fight. Everyone else was silent for a moment. I watched her brothers and Oliver glared at her. They did not like this anymore as I did. I guess that makes sense, since Michael and Oliver were the ones that found her after the attack had happened. King Lucas cleared his throat. I know no one is fond of Catalia placing herself in danger of taking these guys down, but she is not wrong. They are after her. If we want to draw them out and have them come to us, the best possibility is to have Catalia draw them out. If she is alone, they will not be able to resist her, which is what we want. They will not be able to physically harm her. We will make sure that we have warriors on standby and we will step in before they can take her. As Lucas finished speaking, the conference room door opened, and Elder Christopher and several others of the elders walked in. I see we started the meeting without us, Christopher stated. This meeting is only supposed to be for ranked members, I told them. Ah, young Justin. You forget that any meeting that requires the possibility of a fight or war, the elders are required to sit in, so that they may guide the Alpha to what they feel is the best possible scenario. I looked at the Alpha for clarity. Yes, Justin. Elder Christopher is correct. He, and the rest of the elders, unfortunately, have the right to sit in on this meeting, he grumbled. I could tell he did not want Christopher in this meeting. Looking around the room, it did not look like anyone here was particularly fond of Christopher. Shall someone catch us up? Christopher smirked. The Alpha quickly caught them up. After he finished, Christopher inserted his opinion. I agree with Catalia's decision. You know that it makes much more sense to have done this than having other people continually get hurt because she was not willing to step up and essentially take one for the team. I glared at Christopher. How dare he try to say that it is okay for her to throw herself to the wolves, so to speak, just to protect others. King Lucas looked directly at me before speaking. Justin, I know this will be hard for you because she is your mate, but we will not let anything unsavory happen to your mate. We will protect her. We will allow you to be one of the warriors that hide in the shadows, following her. You will be there. You will have the opportunity to protect your mate. I would never dream of taking something like that away from you. I could tell I was losing this fight, but that did not stop the anger and fear I was starting from escalating. I was terrified of losing her. I was terrified of her getting hurt. I know if something happened to her that took her from me, I am not sure that I would be able to ever survive it. She is my pride and joy. The love of my life. Instead of speaking my mind, I just nodded my head. Now, how are we going to play this then? Oliver finally spoke up. King Lucas looked thoughtful before he spoke next. What we will do is decide about 15 warriors to travel in the shadows. I will supply each of the warriors with scentless spray, so their scents cannot be detected. Catalia will be walking in the woods outside of the package borders. We will use that as a beginning ground. Maybe we can talk the Crimson Shadows pack into being Catalia's destination. Make it known that she is on her way to discuss business with their Alpha. Once the triplets make themselves known, we will wait for Catalia's signal, then we attack and bring them in. We need to find out what their plans were, how many were involved, and why they ultimately fixated on Catalia. If Catalia wants, she can be the one to ultimately end them. I have heard about what Sky and Catalia like to do to rogues that have trespassed or attacked her pack. He paused for a moment. We will make these plans to take place in 4 days. I will personally contact Alpha Staff of the Crimson Shadows pack and ask him if we can stage a meeting between Catalia and him in hopes of catching these bastards. Catalia, are you good with this plan? Catalia nodded her head, and my arms instinctively clenched around her and a low growl sounded in my throat. I can't believe she is going to continue with this plan, knowing that I am not in agreement with any part of it. Why can't we not use someone else as a decoy? Why does it have to be my mate? Everyone, except me, nodded their heads, accepting Lucas' plan. I could not accept it that easily. It is easy for him to do because it is not his mate that is being put in this situation with her attacker. It is my mate. I looked around the room. When I spoke, my voice was quiet and deadly. I could feel Ares pushing forward, adding his voice to mine. If something happens to my mate, there will be to pay for everyone involved, including everyone in this room that has willingly allowed my mate to walk into danger. I picked Catalia up and sat her in the chair next to me. I got up to leave the room. I felt her hand reach for me as I started to walk away, and I just shrugged it off. This is too much for me right now. I could not handle this. The thought of her being in danger and there was little I could do, that killed me. I knew I hurt her when I walked out of the room, but I was starting to feel suffocated. The longer I was in that room, the more pain I was feeling. It was like my chest was closing in on me. I have never felt fear or anger this strongly. The anger was just a true cover for the fear that I felt. It is crushing me the longer I think about it, but I cannot stop myself from thinking about the fact that, in 4 days, my mate is essentially sacrificing herself to the wolves just for the good of others. How am I expected to be okay with that? How can she expect me to be okay with this? I hope that she will be okay. It would be the death of me if something happened to her. I hope she understands why I had to walk away from this. From her. Chapter 72. Catalia's POV. He walked away from me. There was nothing that I could do besides watch him leave the room, shutting the door behind him. Elijah was sitting next to me, and after Justin shut the door behind me, he placed his hand on my knee. He will come around. You just need to give him time. He just does not want to see you placed in danger for no reason. I sighed and nodded my head, looking back at the king. Is everyone in agreement about this? King Lucas asked. Everyone voiced their agreement. Meeting dismissed then. I will contact Alpha Staff. As everyone got up to leave, the king spoke up again. Catalia, can you hang back for a moment? I just want to talk to you for a minute. I nodded my head and waited for the last person to leave the room and shut the door behind them. King Lucas and I stared at each other before he finally spoke. Catalia, I am asking you to easy on Justin. This cannot be easy on him. He loves you and we are asking him to allow you to walk into danger. I sighed. I figured this is what he wanted to talk to me about. I know, but I think his reaction was too dramatic. I am fine with him being upset. I can handle that. King Lucas, he overreacted. He acts as if I cannot take care of myself. Before I had agreed to become Alpha, I was one of the best warriors in the pack and quickly rose through our rankings. You do not need to address me as king in public. Lucas is fine. I understand his anger. His anger is not directed towards you for not being able to take care of yourself. His anger stemmed from his fear. I recognized that look in his eyes. He is scared of something happening to you. As you know, usually, it is hard for mates to survive when the other passes, and if they do, they become a shell of their former selves. They have nothing to live for once their person is taken from them. That is how Justin feels. He fears the unknown. He is fearing something happening out of our control and losing you. You have not completed your bond yet. He cut me off before I could protest what he was saying. I can tell the bond has not been completed. A completed bond requires you to be fully mated. I know from your past and history that it is hard for you to move past that and take that next step with him. Catalia, he is hurting. I can honestly tell you that I would have fought tooth and nail if it was ever Lee trying to do this without me. Our mates are like our lifeline, and he feels as if his is slipping out of his grasps. He loves you, Catalia. Never take that for granted. He is possessive, as many males are, but the possessiveness is tenfold when the bond is not completed. We are talking about sending you back into the hands of someone that has harmed you in the past, and now we are sending you back to them like cattle sent for slaughter. Also, Catalia, once you are fully mated, will be able to feel and sense if you are in danger. He will feel your pain. While that is not something that is always ideal, it may be something that will help him in the long run and allow you to do this. He held up his hand, telling me to wait for him to finish. I am not saying that he has to give you permission, but it would a lot easier on you if your mate is not trying to fight you on what you have to do. I thought about what Lucas said. He is right. I can see how this would make Justin feel, but how do I let him know that I will be okay? How do I make him see that I can protect myself? Oh, and Catalia, Justin never said that you could not protect yourself. Goddess forbids anyone ever to say that about you, Kat. We know what you are like in battle or pissed off. He wants you to be safe. Happy. You cannot fault him for caring and loving you. I am going to leave you to think about this and find your mate, while I go and find my mate. Catalia, you were harsh on our mate. He did not do anything to deserve you thinking like that about him. He just wants to protect us, even if that means sheltering us from danger. I think we should apologize to him. Justin and Aries love us and want what is best for us. Sky chimed in after Lucas finished talking. After he left the room, I sat there and thought about what I would say to Justin and what ways to make it up to him. I guess his reaction was kind of valid. Several hours later, I made my way to our room. I had decided to go shopping earlier and grabbed a few things that I was hoping Justin would like. I guess we will see. Once I walked into the room, I laid my bags down on the chair in the corner. I looked around the room. I thought Justin would be there, but he wasn't. I have not seen him since he left the conference room this morning. I walked to the bed and noticed a note lying in the center. Catalia, my love, I am sorry for the way that I reacted earlier. I cannot handle the thought of losing you and having to live without you. I needed to take out some of my frustrations. I love you. Forever yours, Justin, of course. I should have known he was going to go to training. Maybe he went and took his frustrations out on the rogue that we still have. Beta Damien did tell me that my dad was waiting for me to make the final decision regarding what happened to him. I opened up the link, feeling for Justin's tether. Is everything all right? He linked me. Yeah, I have been worried about you. I just saw your note about taking out your frustrations. Are you on the training ground? Yeah. I decided to make the warriors do an impromptu training session. They are all pretty pissed about it, especially since I was mad enough to want blood. Most of them have gotten their asses handed to them by me and they aren't too happy. I chuckled before deciding to go see him at the training grounds. I started walking to the training grounds when Oliver and Elijah caught up to me. It cannot be anything good if both you are coming up to me. We just wanted to see how you were doing after what happened during that meeting, Elijah stated. I am fine. I was a little upset afterwards because I had felt that Justin had overreacted, but after talking with Sky and King Lucas, I realized that his anger and fear was not too far out of the ballpark. I am not used to having someone care for me that deeply. I am not used to someone loving me and wanting to keep me out of harm's way. Elijah and Oliver scoffed, placing a hand over both of their hearts. You wound us, they both said simultaneously. We care for you too, Catalia, but we know that you are going to make your own decisions, regardless of what all of us think. Justin, on the other hand, is not going to sit back and let you put yourself in harm's way without stating his opinion and thoughts. It is kind of cruel if you do not even consider his feelings about you throwing yourself headfirst into danger. Oliver finished. Ugh, here we go again. Some more people lecture me. The icing on the cake is if my father decides that he wants to lecture me about how I reacted to Justin's reaction. I know, Oliver. I know I overreacted. I was going to apologize to him before you two walked up. He is on the training grounds. He pissed off the warriors by calling an impromptu training session for them. He has taken down half the warriors and none of them are so happy that Justin is taking them down like it is nothing. I can't expect anything less from my mate, I laughed. It was only fitting that I would be paired with someone that is a formidable warrior with a strong head on him. The moon goddess could not have me taking advantage of my mate, can she? He has to be able to take me in a fight, which he most certainly can. We will leave you to it. Go find your mate. Elijah and Oliver started before they walked away. I continued my trek to the training grounds. Once the training ground came into view, I stopped and watched the men train for a moment, taking a second to admire my mate. Justin was currently shirtless. Sweat glistened down his abs. He was currently sparring with Garrison, and poor Garrison was not standing a chance. I watched Justin deliver a strong uppercut, kicking Garrison in the face, blood spurting onto Justin's torso. What would I do to just run my hands along his muscles? I can only imagine what it would be like to have Justin shirtless, hovering over me, his hands roaming over my body. I stopped myself. What was I thinking? I have never had any thoughts that were in nature about anyone before. Is this how mates are supposed to feel about each other? I asked myself. Of course, it is, Sky chimed in. It is only a natural feeling to want your mate and for your mate to want us. Justin has been holding back with you for fear that he will scare you and you will run from him, but he very much wants to complete the bond with you and make you fully his. I looked at Justin again and I could tell that I wanted him. I could tell the direction that my thoughts were taking. I wanted him. At that moment, if there was one thing that I was certain of, it was that I wanted Justin. I wanted him to be mine too. Chapter 73. Catalia's POV. It is about time that you said it. Catalia, make him ours. We are not letting him go. Sky was shouting in my head. This wolf was going to give me a headache. Sometimes I wish I could have brain aneurysm, so I can escape her. Then, other times, I remember that Sky is a part of me, and I do love her, even if she is sometimes annoying. I chuckled to myself. That describes my relationship with my wolf accurately. It is a love/hate relationship and sometimes it is more hate than love. I continued walking towards the stands that are at the edge of the training field until I was sitting almost directly in front of Justin. I was resting my elbows on my knees, leaning forward with my head on my hands, watching Justin as he trained with the warriors. Our mate is Sky, purred in my head. We can definitely agree on that. I watched as Justin trained, mesmerized by the way that his body moves as if it is a fluid dance. Poor Garrison, though, has continually tried to attack Justin and has not been able to lay a hand on him. Justin has been repeatedly dodging his attacks and turning them on him with each move that Garrison makes towards him. After another 45 minutes, the training finally ended and Justin walked over to me, using a towel to dry his face. "Were you enjoying the show, babe?" he smirked at me. I could feel my face heating as if I was caught doing something inappropriate. Why yes," I stammered. He grinned at me before picking me up and spinning me in a circle. "Ew! Let me go! You are all sweaty!" I screeched as I smacked his back. Instead of responding, he just laughed. I growled at him, low in my throat. Once he finally dropped me to the ground, I glared at him. I mumbled. He laughed again. You love me though, babe. I am your anyway. We walked hand in hand to the dining hall for lunch. As we sat to eat, we were joined by Gail, Oliver, Michael, and Elijah. You finally make up? Michael asked as he plopped in his seat. I shot him at the bird as I finished chewing my food. Whether we made up is none of your business. I glared at him. He held his hands up in surrender. Just gotta make sure. You are supposed to be considered our powerhouse couple. You know, with you being the future alpha and all. Gotta make sure the next head couple is okay. I laughed at his logic. Of course, my brother would be the one to think like this. This is usually how he thought, so I am not sure why any of us were surprised. Whenever Oliver and I were mad at each other growing up, whenever we made up he would ask us the same question, and then he would tell us that Oliver was going to be his future beta, so he had to make sure that his beta and favorite sister did not have a problem with each other. I shook my head at his silly antics. Michael, Justin, and I were fine. There was no reason that we were not fine. You do not need to worry about your next powerhouse couple. How about, instead of worrying about my love life and mate, you focus on finding your mate? Everyone at the table laughed, except for Michael. He scowled at me, and I lightly smacked his shoulder. Love you, big brother. I said with a huge grin on my face. We finished the rest of our lunch with each of us having fun with the others. We made jokes with each other. We laughed. We told Justin stories about when we were children and some of the mischievous things we would get involved with. It was one of the most relaxed meals we have had in the past couple of weeks. I was ready for all this to be over with. Once it is over, then we can all move on with our lives and not have to worry about them anymore. After lunch, Justin and I walked back to our room hand in hand, so that he could shower. He definitely reeked of sweat, grass, and dirt. While Justin was in the shower, I lay in the bed, contemplating how I was going to apologize to him tonight and in what ways I could make it up to him. Justin took a while in the shower. When he finally came out, he had a towel wrapped low around his hips and water dripping from his hair. He walked to the closet to pull out some shorts to wear. Once he was fully dressed, he went to the other side of the bed and sat down. We sat in silence for several moments before I had the courage to speak. Justin, I am sorry. I am sorry I was mad at you. I was mad you left me in that conference room with everyone just staring at me, knowing that you had left me to deal with it on my own. I was angry that you tried to tell me what I could and could not do. I think that was what pissed me off the most. You did not try to listen to my reasons or my thoughts on the subject. You just stormed off because you were angry with what I had suggested. Justin sat up in bed and turned to face me. Catalia, I needed to leave the room. I felt as if I was suffocating. All I could think of was losing you. I cannot and I refuse to live without you in my life. You are my everything. Everyone is talking about you being bait. I could not handle it. As your mate, I want to protect you. Shelter you. With you being a victim, I know you need closure, and this could help you get the closure you need. Most importantly, like my alpha, I know that you have to do this for your pack. Knowing that you need to do this though, does not make it any easier. It makes it harder. I feel as if I am fighting for air when we talk about it. There are so many things that could go wrong out there. What am I supposed to do if something were to happen to you? Continue on with my life as if nothing had happened? As if I was fine? How would you feel if the roles were reversed, and it was me risking my life? Justin's voice broke at the end, causing me to turn my head towards him. I sat silently, giving myself a minute to think about what I was going to say next to him. I watched as tears silently streamed down his cheeks. Justin, I am sorry if I worried you or scared you with what I intend to do. I know it scares you because I am your mate. You have the need to protect me, but I am not letting you do what your body is screaming at you to do. I know that hurts you. That scares you. Baby, I have to have closure too. I cannot let them continue to go around and hurt others like they did to Jaceslyn. I would never wish for something like that to happen to my worst enemy, let alone innocent women. I love you, Justin. Please try to understand where I am coming from. Justin was quiet for a minute before he spoke next. Audiobook, you cannot rush into these situations without talking to me about them first. We are a couple, a team. We may not always agree with each other, but we have to be able to communicate with each other before we jump head deep into a decision. I am scared that you will not come back from this. What will this mean for us? What if they attack you again? Assault you? What does that mean for us? Are you going to revert back into the shell that you once were and close yourself off from everyone, including me? Justin and I stared into each other's eyes before I leaned over and lightly kissed him. Goddess forbids, if something were to happen to me, then I would make sure that I pull myself out of that depression for you and Aries. You both deserve better than that. If I cannot do it, then I will set you free to either find your second chance or to be with a chosen mate. Baby, I don't want another mate. It is you or nothing. What if I can give you something that will make it easier for you? It will make it easier for you to find us and to fully feel our emotions. What exactly are you implying? What are you trying to give me? Complete the mate bond with me. I will give you full control over me. My body. Fully give me to you. If the bond is completed, then you will be able to sense where I am easily, and you will feel everything I am feeling with clarity. Chapter 74. Justin's POV. Complete the mate bond with me. I will give you full control over me. My body. Fully give me to you. If the bond is completed, then you will be able to sense where I am easily, and you will feel everything I am feeling with clarity. Shock. That was the only thing I could think I was able to feel. Did she just ask me if I would have S*X with her? Officially complete our bond. Love, do you realize what you just asked me to do? I asked her, in an attempt to gain clarity. She stood up and walked to me, climbing onto my lap, facing me. I know what I asked you to do. Justin, I am ready. I have faith in you. I have faith in my feelings for you. I know what I feel for you, and I feel glimmers of what you feel for me. That is enough for me right now. I love you. She paused for a minute as if she was debating with herself on something. Unless you have changed your mind about me, I would understand. I gently gripped her face and forced her to look me in the eyes. Audiobook, you know well that I have not changed my mind about you, about my love for you. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me, and nothing will change that. I love you. I just want to make sure that you are okay with moving forward in our relationship. I don't want you to feel obligated to have S*X with me and complete the bond, so that I will have a peace of mind when sending you out to the wolf's den. I promise I know what I am asking of you, Justin. I know what it means for you to complete the bond with me. I don't want you to complete the bond out of loyalty, just in case something happens to me when I use myself as the decoy. I want this to happen. I want you to show me how much you love me. Your body deserves to be worshipped, I whispered to you, placing a gentle kiss on her lips. I lifted her slightly, pulling out my wallet. I pulled out one of my credit cards and handed it to her. Please go out and go shopping. Do whatever you want, but you had better use my card. I do not want to find out that you were using your card to buy your things today. Give me until tonight to get ready. I want this to be special for you. She was quiet before she hesitantly agreed to give me the rest of the day to make this special for her. Catalia's POV. Several hours later, I was heading back to the pack house. I received a mind link from Justin about 30 minutes ago, telling me that he was ready for me to come back to our room. In the few hours that I had been out, I decided to hang out with Oliver and went walking around some of the stores in town. I wanted to go into the city, but my father was adamant with the recent attack that I do not head anywhere alone. Honestly, I don't even think he wanted me to go with the warriors he assigned me. I asked one of the guards if we could go into the human city and he flat out told me he had to ask the Alpha, even though I was Alpha heir. I told him to just forget it since he felt that I needed to have permission in order to go out the way that I had wanted to. So, I did the next best thing and went to the shops in town. Maybe, after all this, I will convince Justin to come with me to the mall in the city. At least then, my mate will be with me, I guess. I made my way up the stairs of the package, and I stopped at the door to our room, taking a deep breath. I felt all my nerves ricocheting inside me. Everything will be all right. I trust Justin. He loves me. I love him. I slowly pushed open the door and gasped at what I saw. The entire room looked different. Justin had taken the small tea light candles and lit them all over the room. Then, on each of the nightstands, Justin had some bigger candles lit. The floor was littered with purple and pink rose petals, while the bed was littered with red rose petals. I gasped at what he had done in my room. I looked around the room, in search of Justin, until my eyes landed on him and my breath caught in my throat. Justin was wearing a fitted shirt, the shirt was pulled tightly across his chest with his muscles on display, and a pair of nice jeans. "Hey," I whispered. I could hear my heart loudly thumping in my chest. I was sure that it was so loud that Justin was able to hear it from across the room. "Hey," he replied, "are you sure this is what you want?" I nodded my head as I walked to bed. I sat down on the bed, my eyes never leaving Justin's. He slowly walked towards me. Once he finally reached me, he leaned down and gently pressed a kiss on my lips. "We will take this as slow as you want. At any point in time that you wish for me to stop, just say the words and I will stop. You will be in complete control. Thank you." He pushed me backwards onto the bed. He kissed my neck sensually. "So beautiful," he said, almost reverently. I felt him slowly pushing himself, stopping periodically to give me time to adjust to him. Justin began to slowly make love to me. I could feel everything. Chapter 75. Justin's POV. I gently pulled out of her, and she slumped back onto the bed. I walked to the bathroom and grabbed a warm, wet cloth and began to gently wipe the excess juices from her. She stirred slightly when the cloth touched her, and she mumbled something incoherently. "I am just cleaning you up, my queen," I spoke to her. Once I removed my hand from between her legs, she rolled onto her side. When I got up, I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "I love you." I walked into the bathroom and started the shower. I stood under the stream and let the water rush over me as I thought about the events of the day. I was having a hard time believing that this day had turned from Catalia and I being at odds, to both of us completing the bond. I felt whole. Stronger. I understand that some of it may have been from the feeling of completing the mate bond, but I feel as if some of her power, her alpha blood, has seeped into me. I felt strong before, but now I can feel the power rushing through my blood. I was not born with an actual rank, However, in my old pack, my father was one of the lead warriors, which earned us a rank that was under Gamma. My father was strong, and I inherited my traits from him. When I first marked Catalia, before we completed the bond, I felt slightly stronger. I could feel my aura strengthen slightly, which could be explained away by being marked by an alpha. From the moment that I remarked to her, I could feel my aura wanting to push out. I could feel the strength in my aura. It was wanting to rush out and I had to fight to control it, which had never happened before. The only way I would truly know if my suspicions about my aura were true would be if I used it in front of pack members, which I truly do not want to do. Once I finished my shower, I hopped out and wrapped a towel around my waist. I walked to the closet and pulled on some boxers, debating whether I should try to dress Catalia in her sleep. I was worried that she was going to wake up and freak out if she woke up next to me in bed. I decided that I would face her wrath in the morning if she woke up angry. I went to each candle, and I blew them out before I laid down next to her in bed. I lay on my side so that I could face her and pulled her into my arms. She cuddled into my neck as she continued to peacefully snore. As soon as I was comfortable, I closed my eyes, allowing the darkness to take hold. I woke up to the sun shining into the room. I squinted my eyes and cursed myself for not remembering to shut the blinds and close the curtains. I placed the pillow on my head and tried to go back to sleep, but my effort was futile. I was wide awake today. Justin, Catalia's link is blocked. We need both of you to report to conference room A. Something else has come up. We will need to discuss it before Catalia goes out as bait. The alpha linked me. It will be a moment. Catalia is still sleeping. She will need to shower after last night. We will be there shortly. I gently shook Kat's shoulder. Catalia, my queen, it is time to wake up. Your father has called a meeting that we need to attend. Catalia swatted at my hand and rolled over. Come on, baby. It is time to wake up. She grumbled before pulling the pillow on top of her head. I shook her again and she rolled away from me. I guess she is going to force me to do this the hard way. I walked into the bathroom and turned the shower on, making sure the water was heated up. I was at least enough of a gentleman that I was not going to throw her into a cold shower. She should be grateful for that, right? She is going to kill you, man. And by you, I mean us, which is not something that I am cool with. Aries grumbled in my head. Leave it to the wolf to be scared of our mate. Sir, I know you have seen our mate fight, and she can be kind of scary. I am going to make sure that I 100% throw you under the bus. You will be going down on your own. I am going to be a part of this nightmare. I chuckled at him. This wolf has never been scared of anyone before and now he is suddenly scared of his 5'3" mate. I walked back into the bedroom and picked Kat up. She rolled into me, nuzzling my neck. She was not going to be this content for long. I was going to piss her off in a minute. I opened the shower door, and I set her on foot. The moment the water sprayed her in the face, her eyes flew open, and she let out a loud screech. You, she screeched. What the FK was that for? I took 2 steps back once I was sure that she had her footing. I did not want her to lash out and deck me in the face. Babe, your father called a meeting and said that we needed to be there. I was not able to wake you up, so I did the next best thing. You should be lucky I was considerate enough not to put you in a cold shower. The water is at least warm. Catalia glared at me before she flipped me off. You are a bastard. But I am your bastard, I responded cheekily as I slipped out of the bathroom, so I could get ready to head to this meeting. 30 minutes later, and we were both dressed and ready to head to this meeting. We walked into the conference and took our seats. The Alpha looked at and not so subtly sniffed the air. I saw Catalia flush. I know what his father had been checking. He had been checking to see if we had completed the bond last night. Poor Catalia is embarrassed about it. Now that everyone is present, we can go ahead and begin. Last night, I had sent out some scouters to scout the territory between us and the Crimson Shadow Pack, checking for rogues and anything else that might be loitering in the forest. They had stumbled across a small encampment that appeared to be having about a few rogues. In the center of the camp, there were the triplets. They are watching and waiting for us. Catalia, is this something that you truly want to do? You want to sacrifice yourself in this way? If we choose not to, then we can find some other way. I promise. Do not feel obligated to do this. I have to do this, she responded. I cannot let others continue to be placed in danger because I was too scared to do anything about it. King Lucas finally spoke up. What warriors will be traveling with Catalia for this? We have not decided yet. When Elder Christopher jumped into the conversation, I was ready to throttle him. Catalia will be fine. She does not need any extra warriors to work with her. Send the bare minimum. What if they decided to attack the pack while this was going on? If you take the good warriors with you, then there will be no one that will be able to guard the pack. By this point, I was seeing red. Catalia tried grabbing my hand and using her touch to calm me down, but I was struggling to remain calm. I wanted blood, preferably his blood painting the entire room. The more Christopher was talking, the angrier I was getting. How dare he suggest that we not send warriors with my mate? We have plenty of warriors, plus assistance from the king and Alpha Eric. If she was injured, it would be fine. Catalia recovers quickly. I growled loudly, causing everyone in the room to turn and look at me. I could feel the aura that was wanting to push out earlier, wanting out again, except this time I did not hold back. I released it. How dare you sit there and tell me that we should allow Catalia to go out into the forest alone to fight those bastards and all those rogues on her own, with the bare minimum of warriors? How dare you say that it will all be fine because my mate heals quickly? Christopher tried sputtering in response, but it was futile. I was so angry that I was not going to listen to his words. I wanted blood. King Lucas glanced at me before he inserted his opinion. We will not leave the pack unguarded while we are gone. However, we will not send Catalia by herself, with the bare minimum for warriors, into those woods. Shame on you, Christopher, for even suggesting such a thing. The king paused before turning to look at me. Son, I need you to rein in your aura just a smidge. You are making some of the other people in the room uncomfortable. I looked around the room and everyone besides the king, Catalia, and the Alpha had their heads tilted towards me in submission. I knew I felt stronger. I knew this newfound strength came from my mate bond with Catalia. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.